friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 13th of February and we are going to deal with three very important topics which are in news. The climate tipping points. The climate tipping points are those threshold points beyond which the situation tips into a certain state which is irreversible and having disastrous consequences due to climate change. For example, a rainforest getting converted into a dry savanna land because of scarcity of rainfall or increased desertification due to climate change. One climate tipping point getting adverse can impact other climate tipping points, also creating a domino effect. So this is what we need to understand about climate tipping points. The next is SWATI portal. SWATI portal is basically for encouraging participation of women in science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine, this STEM domain. SWATI stands for Science for Women, a technological initiative. Now all the data with respect to women participating in any scientific activities all across the country will be there on this portal, and this will encourage more and more women to participate in science and technology. Participation of women in science and technology will lead to solution of many problems faced by them. Next is brumation. We might all have heard about hibernation, which is quite common among mammals, where the mammals go into a state of rest. Similarly, among reptiles is brumation. Brumation generally happens in the winter season where the activities of reptiles, they are very low. They conserve their energy. They try to live in those spaces which are having more stable climate. Do not feed on any of their hunts. Try to slow their metabolism. This is what brumation is. So let us look into the details of these three. First is climate tipping points. Now what are climate tipping points? We know that climate change is happening. It is a fact. And climate change, if it happens up to that extent, the damages which it is causing are irreversible. They cannot be changed. They cannot be brought back to normal situation. Up to that extent, if the climate change is causing damages, those are called as climate tipping points, which points once crossed, the damages then caused are irreversible. Now, climate tipping points are essentially critical threshold beyond which a natural system can tip into an entirely different state and cause irreversible and disastrous consequences for the planet, including more warming. So there is a report recently released, and that report is released by European Space Agency, I guess. According to that report, certain climate tipping points in the world, means there are 5 climate tipping points in the world which have been disastrously impacted and they are causing more damage. So we need to, take these climate tipping points into consideration whenever forming policies or discussing climate change at the global level. For example, in UNFCCC. Now, example of climate tipping point: rising global temperatures can trigger a change like a rainforest becoming a dry savanna. So basically, global warming, climate change, on one hand is increasing rainfall, on the other hand it is leading to dry spells also, droughts also. And what if there is a rainforest which is dependent upon rain? Due to lack of rain, due to dry spells, this converts into a savanna forest. And this is irreversible. That savanna will never go back to rain, will never go back to becoming a rainforest, because rainfall will get more scarce and scarce, because global warming, as the present trend is seen, will be on the rise, is on the rise. So that is what an example of this is. Now this change is propelled by self-perpetuating feedback loops, even if what was driving the change in the system stops. The system, in this case the forest, may remain tipped even if the temperature falls below the threshold again. Now this will never go back to becoming a rainforest. This is what climate tipping points is. Now, how dangerous can it be? Breaching one tipping point can increase the likelihood of crossing others. Means other tipping points can also be crossed or can also be breached. It can cause a catastrophic domino effect. Now we'll see an example in this scenario. For instance, unabated global warming can cause irreversible ice melt from the Greenland ice sheet. This melting of ice in the Greenland ice sheet could slow down the ocean's circulation of heat. The Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, it is called as AMOC, which is there prominent in the Atlantic region, Atlantic Ocean, which carries hot current and cold current, So that will slow down, which in turn could impact South America's monsoon system. So one tipping point, Greenland ice sheet. Another tipping point impacted due to the first tipping point, that is Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, due to which another tipping point, South America's monsoon system getting impacted. So due to an impact on one tipping point, other tipping points are getting impacted. This is what a catastrophic domino effect is, because one tipping point is impacting the other tipping points. What are the identified climate tipping points? Now, over the years, basically, scientists have identified that this is a tipping point, or this can be a tipping point, that can be a tipping point. Tipping point basically is those areas or those, I would say, regions where climate change, if it causes negative impacts, the changes will be irreversible. Those regions are called as tipping points. Now, according to the ESA report, European Space Agency report, they largely have identified tipping points to be in three broad categories. First is cryosphere. Cryosphere is basically all those areas which are ice covered. They can be ice in Antarctic, Arctic, North Pole, South Pole, or Greenland ice sheet is also this. Permafrost is also cryosphere. Any rivers which are frozen during the winters, lakes frozen during the winters, everything is cryosphere, which is, covered under the snow or ice covered. Then ocean atmosphere. Atmospheric circulation in the oceans like monsoon winds and all. These are ocean atmosphere. Biosphere. Biosphere is basically a broad term where life exists. It can be on the earth's surface, below the earth's surface. Life exists, flora, fauna, that is called as biosphere. Okay. And these range from Greenland ice sheet to coral reefs. We have a list of what tipping points are, list of climate tipping points. One disclaimer I'd like to give here is that they are not exhaustive. This list is not exhaustive. It can be more. Okay. Just to give you an idea that what climate tipping points are, I've inserted this screenshot that what can be considered as climate tipping points, like Antarctic ice sheets, Amazon rainforests, Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, boreal forest, Greenland melting, North Subpolar gyre. All these are there, and these can be divided into these three broad categories: cryosphere, ocean atmosphere, and biosphere. Like for example, if I have to say that Atlantic ice sheets, cryosphere; Amazon rainforest, biosphere; Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, this is basically atmospheric oceanic circulation, this is biosphere; this is cryosphere; North Subpolar gyre, this is basically that circulation, atmospheric circulation which is happening. Permafrost, cryosphere; collapse of coral reefs, this is biosphere, this is life, coral reefs below the earth. So like this, basically it is divided in three categories. Now, have we breached any climate tipping points out of this list? Actually, there are 17 tipping points over here. In December 2023, there was a report published, the Global Tipping Points Report. According to this report, 25 climatic tipping points were examined. And out of those 25 climatic tipping points, 5 major tipping points are already at risk of being crossed. This was the finding. Which are these 5? Collapse of big ice sheets in Greenland and the West Antarctic. So 1, 2, Greenland, Northern Hemisphere, Antarctic, Southern Hemisphere. The widespread thawing of permafrost. Permafrost is basically that region which is permanently frozen. And the ice has started melting over there. That is there in Siberian region, northern part of Russia. And it is believed that when this permafrost melts, when this thaws, lot of methane will be released or is being released due to the melting of permafrost. And with this thawing of permafrost, release of methane is a greenhouse gas which will further trigger global warming, and that global warming will further lead to melt of permafrost. This will be a chain effect. It will be there. It will lead to further global warming. It is like this. And it is also believed that there are so many microbes which are buried under permafrost. If thawing happens, they will be released in the air and they can cause even more deadlier pandemics than the COVID which was there. So this can lead to spread of disease as well. Then death of coral reefs in warm waters. This is there in Micronesia largely, above Australia. We can see it. Okay. And collapse of one oceanic current in North Atlantic. This oceanic current has been collapsed, and due to which there will be weather alterations in the South American continent. They are experiencing it already. So these are the 5 climate tipping points which have been, already at the risk of being crossed. And now currently Earth is become 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer. We have kept the threshold, we have kept the target as 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer. So just imagine at 1.1 degrees Celsius, these climate tipping points have been impacted. What will happen at 1.5 degrees Celsius? 1.5 degrees Celsius means the global average temperature above the pre-industrial levels. The pre-industrial levels are 1850 to 1900. The average temperature of 1850 to 1900, let's suppose, is X degrees Celsius. So presently, the global average temperature now is X plus 1.1 degrees Celsius. And we have kept a target that by 2100, the global average temperature should be X plus 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now what I want to say is that if at 1.1 degrees Celsius, 5 global tipping points are believed at the risk of being crossed, imagine what will happen at 1.5 degrees Celsius. Once the planet surpasses the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, tipping points including death of boreal forests, mangroves, seagrass meadows and will potentially be breached. And there will be irreversible damages happening to these ecosystems. Now, from here we can see from this particular image that this is Greenland ice sheet over here, which is impacted. Okay. Antarctic ice sheet collapse west. This has been impacted. Then next is this Atlantic Meridian overturning circulation collapse. Coral reefs over here, they are there. So this is what all has been impacted. Permafrost is over here. Boreal permafrost collapse. So this is happening, and with this particular image, the yellow dots, you can see over here, yellow dots. Here, the temperature rise is basically less than 2 degrees Celsius. The orange dots, which you can see, that is boreal forest northward expansion, or we can see orange dot over here, East Antarctic. All these are basically where temperature rise is 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. And the red dots which you are seeing, boreal permafrost collapse, Arctic winter sea ice, East Antarctic ice sheet, this Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation collapse, all these are experiencing more than 4 degrees Celsius rise. This is what we need to understand. And these are climate tipping points which have been most impacted. So these things need to be known, and as UPSC aspirants, UPSC can ask in the prelims examination about climate tipping points. First of all, we should know the basics of this, that those are those extreme threshold points beyond which if global warming happens, then it will lead to irreversible damage. Things will not be able to reverse back, things will not be able to come back to normal, then they will permanently remain in that particular situation. And that is catastrophic actually. So, this is what global tipping point is. How can we avoid breaching tipping points? One thing which we have to do to avoid breaching tipping points is that we have to reduce GHG emissions. We have to curb GHGs. That is the only way. And the world has not been able to do it. Especially 2023, if I talk about, is the year which records the highest presence of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere in 2023 has been the highest. Global governance currently is inadequate to minimize tipping point threats. Global governance means we are not talking about these climate tipping points in forums like UNFCCC. So it is currently inadequate to minimize tipping point threats and to do so equitably. It also added that the time and adequate global emergency action would be implemented. Some of the climate tipping points may still be crossed. So we need to act well within time. If we want to save more and more, tipping points or climate tipping points to be breached. So this is what can be done. Now next is the SWATI portal. SWATI, Science for Women, a Technology and Innovation. This is what this portal stands for, SWATI stands for. But what it is basically a database of women involved in science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine. Actually, earlier this was only called as STEM. It was still science, technology, engineering and mathematics. But this medicine has been added and it is called as STEMM now. STEMM. It was launched on Sunday, which could help in policy making to address the challenges of gender gap in sciences. Now we've seen increasing participation of women in the science space. Particularly when I talk about the space sector, we could see more and more number of female scientists in ISRO, especially during the Chandrayaan mission. There were more than 50 scientists, 50 women scientists involved in the Chandrayaan mission, Chandrayaan 3 mission. We need to increase more and more participation of women in this domain. Why? It will lead to women empowerment, no doubt about this fact. It will lead to enhanced incomes, more women empowerment, more awareness and all. But yes, if we have more and more women scientists, there are studies all across the world which have proven that these women scientists can prove to be more efficient than males, first of all. Second of all, they can find solutions to such social problems which the women are facing, which the men scientists will not be able to find. That is why participation of women more and more in the science domain is important. Now this portal, online portal, that is the SWATI portal, is developed, hosted and maintained by the National Institute of Plant Genome Research, NIPGR. What is the objective of this particular portal? To scale up the efforts exponentially, to include each and every Indian woman in science across all career stages and subjects spanning both academia and the industry. So, it is a database, but the objective is to include more and more women in science across all, I would say, the career stages, whether they are beginners or whether they are in advanced stages. We need to bring more and more women in the realm of science. Enabling reliable and statistically significant long-term research on the issues of equality, diversity and inclusivity in India. So we want to establish all these. Equality, women empowerment will happen, which will lead to more equality. Diversity in the pool of scientists can lead to better problem solving. And inclusivity means it will include majority or maximum people under the ambit of STEMM, again, which is beneficial for the overall development of the society. Now next is bromation. UPSC at times can ask questions that recently a term bromation was in use. What does it refer to? Or what does bromation mean? So you need to know these kind of technical or scientific terms. We might all have heard about hibernation. Hibernation is there in mammals. This is a period of dormancy or slowed activity in mammals is called as hibernation, and a period of dormancy or slowed activity in reptiles is called as brumation. It is very much similar to hibernation. When does it occur? It typically occurs during colder months when temperatures drop and food becomes scarce for them. So they become dormant. Why do they enter this stage? Reptiles enter the state of brumation to conserve energy and survive these adverse environmental conditions, as simple as that. Okay. Because food is scarce, so they try to conserve their energy, they become dormant, they try to find such a place where the climate or temperatures are stable. Now, what happens during brumation? During brumation, reptiles may retreat to underground burrows, rock cervix, or other sheltered areas where temperatures are relatively more stable. Their metabolism slows significantly, allowing them to go weeks or even months without eating. This period of reduced activity allows reptiles to conserve energy and minimize their resource requirements. It is crucial for reptiles to survive the cold climates and endure these challenging conditions, and brumation is the answer to this. Now, once the brumation phase is over, they come out in the open, they go for reproduction, they go for hunting, they eat, consume. But yes, during winter months where the hunt is also, in scarcity, they tend to grow into these kind of dormant stages or dormant phases, which is called as brumation. So, kind of a factual news, not important for mains, but yes, very much important for prelims it is. And with this, we end today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.